Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena. I am coming to you from Boulder, Colorado. It is the end of December and we have a lot to chat about today. This is going to be my last episode of the year. I cannot believe it. We will not belabor the point that I cannot believe it because I really can't believe it. This year has flown, but let's just get back to it, okay? Let's talk about knitting and we will end with some really fun life updates. If you are interested, stick around for that. Before I forget, I am wearing the Callius cardigan by Isabel Kramer. It is made out of Julie Asselin in the Nurtured base. If you can kind of see, it's a very rustic, woolly base. This color is the colorway Dew, D-E-W. It's kind of a cool toned neutral with minty pink and green specks. It reminds me of peppermint ice cream, Bluebell peppermint ice cream, which my husband introduced me to when we got together years and years ago, and it is the best ice cream. I truly think I might have picked this color because it reminded me of that ice cream. But honestly, this is not my favorite yarn. It is a very woolly yarn and I don't know. I was thinking about it when I put it on, and I think part of why I might not like it as much is maybe it should be knit at a much larger gauge and it would not feel so constricted. There's something about this that feels very constricted. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, do you see this gorgeous stitch pattern? It is, I believe, knit one, slip one type ribbing, and it creates a very dense fabric. And this yarn is just already very woolly and dense, so this pattern created a much denser fabric, and it's just, I don't know, it was kind of a mismatch. But I'm telling you, real quick before I forget, also the back is fully in this and I love it. It's such a cool pattern. It wasn't the most fun thing in the world to knit. It got pretty boring, but I'm going to try to wear it more. I think I made it this year. I can't really remember, but I don't wear it enough. It's a very versatile, chill kind of cardigan, very not fussy piece that you can wear like a hoodie almost, and I need to do that more. Okay, moving on. What do I have to show you this week? I have a couple of random things, so let's just jump into the one kind of funny finished object that I have, and that is another one of these cats in a box by Mochi Mochi Land. This guy got a little fatter than the other guy that I made for my daughter. See, he's been, roaming around the neighborhood a little more, so he's a bit more slim-hipped than this big chonker. But I made this one for my daughter's best friend. Regret committing to that choice during December for my daughter. I honestly only, followed through because I didn't want to make my daughter sad. And I love her little bestie. She's super sweet and she loves cats. But let me tell you, mid-December is just not the time to gift knit. Not at this stage in my life when I've got so much stuff going on with myself and my kids and my husband and the dogs. And it's just, this did not have good vibes in it. I didn't really enjoy this knit. I was just kind of madly trying to do it. And I was making all these mistakes and it got done. That's the most important thing. I haven't blocked the box yet, which I need to do, but here is Big Chonker. I like the green eyes. I think it was very fun to make these green eyes and have him have a little different look. Another thing I will say, if you are going to make this pattern, both of these little babies are made out of Isayer's, I don't remember the name. I was looking if I had a label and I don't. But they're both made out of Isayer's yarn that's half alpaca, half wool. And because of that, it gives this little fluffy vibe to him. And I think that really added something special. If you can see, both of the boxes were made in 100% superwash wool, and they just have a very different look. I love the look. If you're going to go through the effort, try to find a woollier yarn because it gives them this just adorable natural kitty look. And if you're going to make a gift like this, I think it's worth it. I also just love that this is one of those tiny projects where you can use up bits and bobs of yarn that you have. It is an enjoyable project. Also, when you buy this pattern, the Cozy Squozy Cats, you get 4 different cat patterns, 4 different, versions. So it is, to me, a worthwhile pattern to buy if you are tempted, because you do get different versions. And I could see a world in which these would be really fun to experiment with. You could also make these, I know I showed you this last time, by the way, but you could also make these in a much bigger weight yarn, a much thicker weight yarn, and give somebody a much bigger cat, which I think it's fun. It's so fun if you have grandkids that are younger or kids that are younger, 1 or 2, and you don't want to give them something so minuscule, you could make a bigger one that's safer and very cozy and sweet. So I finished that this week. You guys, I have barely knit this week, literally barely knit, because this time of year is just crazy. It's basketball season, it's volleyball season, it's the end of the school year. It's my son's freshman year in high school, so it's his first endeavor into finals week, and that has just been, while basketball season is going on, it's been just such a big commitment from my end to kind of keep him motivated and on track, and kind of holding him accountable. And that's just felt like a full-time job between the kids and their stuff, and I've barely had time to knit. I haven't even felt like, I don't want to say the temptation to knit, but I've just been so distracted. Knitting has kind of been on the back burner, which is very rare for me. No matter what is going on in my life, knitting is always on the front burner, but right now it's just not. So I actually, in that vein, have the most random thing to show you. It is a finished object, but it is not a finished object that I made, but I found this. My husband and I were cleaning out the basement last weekend, and I was trying to sift through, if you have a basement, keeping, trashing, it's a whole thing. And I came across this bin of baby blankets, and I found this one, and it's just so, so beautiful that even though I didn't make it, I really wanted to share it with you. My mother-in-law made this for my daughter when she was born, and this was before I started knitting. So, at the time it was like, oh, that's so beautiful, but I had no sense of the amount of effort or the skill or the beauty, but I do now, obviously. So she made this blanket. It's squares that are pieced together, and it's cables. And it's just so funny because you guys know how much I love cables and baubles both. And this has cables and baubles of various kinds. And it's just so classic. I love it. It's just one of those heirloom pieces. And then at the bottom, she duplicate stitched her name and her birthday. And it's just gorgeous. So I washed it, I dried it, and I can't wait to give my daughter this when she gets home from school, because she'll have forgotten about it. And it was never on her radar because she was a baby. And then when we moved here, it was in a box, and she loves putting handmade blankets on her bed at night. She always has her half and half wrap, and she's got some baby blankets that I crocheted for her when she was a baby. But I hope she'll be really excited to find this. I'm going to hold it up so you can kind of get a sense of its scale and beauty. One thing I will say about baby blankets, if you knit them a lot, is make them bigger than you think. I know sometimes the temptation is like, oh, it's a baby, make it small, get it done, and give it away. But if you make it, like, this is to me such a good size. First of all, it's obviously big enough for a baby or a young child. But now that my daughter's 11, it's still big enough for her to put on her bed and use and layer and all that stuff. So if you're going to go through the effort, you might as well go through the effort and make it a hair bigger so that the recipient can really enjoy it forever and it's truly an heirloom, because you're already putting in all that work. And as I'm looking at this, like, look at I love this pattern. I wonder what pattern it is, but I love how in the middle of those cables, there's like a textured, it looks like a double moss, or maybe it's just moss stitch. I don't know. It's just so beautiful. And what's sad is that my mother-in-law does not knit anymore. She used to knit and just, do, not embroidery, not cross stitch. What's the other thing? Anyway, she was always a big maker, but now she doesn't make stuff like this anymore. But I hope I never get to the age where I stop knitting. That would just be tragic to me. But anyway, so I just wanted to show you this beautiful piece because I was so thrilled when I found it, and also just in awe of how neat her cabling is. It's just really well done. She's an English knitter. And sometimes I feel like English style knitting is a bit tidier almost than continental because it's tighter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being, hard on myself, which I probably am, but I just think this is a very impressive piece and it's just so beautiful. And it's just really, I think when you have to make squares and then piece them together and then do all that stuff, it's even more, it's just so much work. So that is a true labor of love. And I wanted to share it with you as a finished object today, even though it was finished like 12 years ago, but it's new to you. So what else? I have, like I said, barely been knitting, but one thing that did happen this week was my Musselburgh hat. I finished the ball of yarn that I was working from. I told you guys it was, again, I do not have the labels, but it's Langewall. I had gotten these two colors for a pair of socks, but I ended up pivoting because I didn't know what color to make this in. And I thought I'll use these for the Musselburgh hat. So the first color is Toasted Coconut. And when I was knitting this, so let me back up. The color combo was inspired by Summer Lee. She has a sock that's really simple, that's Toasted Coconut and then like a minty color. And I just loved it. It was such an unusual color combination, and I love neutral colors. And I thought it was a really Toasted Coconut felt like a very unusual neutral color because it's not exactly gray. It is truly feels like Toasted Coconut is a good name. It's like a very cool toned taupey gray. I just really like it. However, just working round and round in stockinette in this taupey gray color was the most boring thing in the world. It just felt like, please make it stop. That's when I realized I don't want to knit the whole thing. I'm just going to add ribbing and make it a folded brimmed hat and move on with my life. Like, I was not enjoying the Musselburgh experience. But then this morning, we had like 10 minutes before I had to take my son to school, and I decided I'm not going to give myself time to mull over what color brim I want, because my goal was to just make it solid, but I ran out of yarn. So then I realized, okay, so I'll make the body the Toasted Coconut, and then the folded brim will be a contrasting color. Whatever, it's not 100% something I love, like that's not a style, like the color blocking thing is not really my jam. I would have preferred to do stripes or something, but I didn't do that. But because I bought this with the Toasted Coconut, first of all, how adorable is this like little bitty skein of Langewall? Oh, I left one of my dogs in the front hoping she wouldn't bark, but she started barking. So I might have to pause in a second and bring her in because it'll be annoying to me. Anyway, this is Lang Joal in the mint colorway. The minute I started with the mint, the whole vibe of this hat completely transformed, okay? It went from the most boring thing ever to, oh my goodness, I love this color combination. Summerlee is brilliant with color combinations, and I think you can see like this is one of those colors combos that is just perfect. And what I realized this morning is sometimes a color has to be put with another color in order to really shine. Like this toasted coconut is just kind of blah, but when you put it with this color, it really, I'm like dropping stitches right and left on these tiny needles. When you put them together, they're just absolutely gorgeous. And I am so glad. Sorry, this is so annoying. Okay, this was silly of me. It's just I don't have any needle stoppers that are small enough to really get these needles. Anyway, my point is, what I was saying is sometimes for a color to shine, it has to be put with another color that brings out its beauty. And in this situation, to me, the beauty lies in the contrast. The beauty lies in the fact that this is a very bright, bold, colorful color, and this is just extremely neutral and somewhat boring, I would say, but together they really, really look good. And I feel like kind of that's how so many things are, right? I feel like even my personality, it's like I'm best enjoyed with my husband because we're very different and like we complement each other really well. Or, whatever your favorite food is, it's like it usually is something in context, and colors are just like that to me. They need to be put in context in order to really shine. And sometimes some colors can stand alone. Toasted coconut is not one of those. Now, I am really hopeful that this hat fits well. One of you guys had left a note in the comments, and I thought it was so spot on. You said, hats are so deceivingly simple. Wait, deceivingly simple, or is it deceivingly complicated? My point is, what I'm trying to say is, it seems like an easy pattern or an easy palette cleanser when you're like between bigger projects. Oh, I'll just make a hat. But getting that hat to fit properly is so difficult because let's be honest, who is like making a huge gauge swatch for a hat? It just seems so silly because that's like half the hat, right? So I've always just jumped in and done it. Well, that's what's tempting about the muscle burras because you start, you take the gauge as you go, and then you decide what size you're gonna knit. I just don't know if that is going to pan out as smoothly as it sounds like it will. Like, I don't know if it's overselling its promise. So we will see. If it fits well, I'll be the first one to be thrilled. And if it fits well, I would totally use it as a toss in my bag project, but I would recommend using a more exciting yarn, like a hand-dyed colorway that you love and you don't know what to do with this single skein. I think the Muscle Burra is like a great project for that. But what I picked definitely needed a little zhuzhing up. So I'm hoping to make the whole rest of the ribbing, and then you won't see this bit of ribbing and you'll only see the turquoise when I fold it over. And that is, the look I'm going for. If I'm feeling crazy and it feels incomplete, I might make a matching pom-pom if I have enough yarn, which I will, absolutely. This is a 50-gram ball. I might make a matching pom-pom on the top. So truly, I started the turquoise this morning. It is, it's one of those weeks where just 5 minutes seems like a luxury. Again, Lang Joal, toasted coconut, and mint. I believe they have a lighter color called Seafoam, I want to say. It is just a hair lighter than this, but they're beautiful, both colors. And this, I love this yarn. I think it is a superwash yarn with, it might have nylon in it. I don't remember, but I really like the feel of it. I like this yarn a lot. This was my first time ever using it, and I really do like it. So real quick, I also wanted to show you, while we're talking about how difficult it is to nail a hat, I wanted to show you my favorite two hats that I wear on repeat in the cooler months. They're both very different, and I've shown you them before, but these are the hats that just absolutely nailed it. And I'm gonna go get the dog and be right back, so hold please. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I have to bring her in when she barks because we have a neighbor across the street who is just driven batty by any sort of barking, and it's been unpleasant to say the least. She's called the cops on us for the barking dog. She's come over screaming at us. Trying to bring her in so she doesn't bark, because I don't know if you've ever been screamed at by a neighbor, but it is unpleasant. But anyway, back to our hat situation. These are both by Sari Nordland, one of my favorite designers of all time, and the mohair in both of these hats is making my nose itchy. Sorry about that. Let's start with the first one that I made, I believe. This is the Robin Beanie. I made mine in some unknown pink yarn held double with Wandering Flocks mohair silk. I don't know what it's called. And the colorway, I want to say unicorn something. I don't remember. I think it's unicorn something. It's like really pretty light pink. It's variegated, but it's not speckled. I don't know, it gives a very painted quality. And I held it double with this solid yarn. And in all honesty, I wish if I were to make it again, I would have held it double with a solid hot pink that matched, because I think I would like this hat even better, and I already love this hat, if the mohair halo didn't also add kind of that variegated look into the fabric. Does that make sense? Like, I would have liked it to just be plain solid. I'm going to put it on for you, despite the fact that it's going to make my hair all messed up. But I just love this hat, okay? It fits beautifully. If anything I would do is make it a little tighter, but this is a one size hat. But I think you start at the top and you increase. And I think I could stop the increases a little bit early in order to make it a little tighter. But I just love this hat. I love the fact that because you start from the top down, you can really make sure it's the right length for you. It is, I think, what is it? I can't remember if it's 3x3 ribbing. I can't even tell. I think maybe it's just 2x2 ribbing, but I love this hat. I wear it all the time. And as I told you last week, you know, pink is the color of my soul. So it just feels like, I feel like myself when I'm wearing this hat, because it's bright pink, it's fuzzy, it's comfortable, it covers up all manner of dirty hair. I just love it. I wear this hat so much. I would re-knit this in a heartbeat. And like, as I'm talking about it, I'm so tempted. I cannot recommend enough to carry mohair with it. As you can see, it just gives this absolute halo to your head. I would so knit this in a neon yellow with a neon yellow mohair. Magic. It would be magic. Yes, you might look like a crossing guard, but you'd look like the cutest crossing guard ever. Robin Beanie, love it. Fits so well. This is 100% a recommendation for a hat. Now, if you prefer a hat with a more interesting, ooh, see, looking good. If you prefer a hat with a stitch pattern, this is the Couture Beret, actually. It is a lace pattern and it is a beret, but I did not block it out as a beret. I just like to wear it as like a slouchy hat. It is so incredibly comfortable. This might be the best fitting hat I have ever made. Like the tightness is just absolutely perfect. I held it again, double mohair plus a single fingering weight yarn. So, literally a singles weight. It was La Bien-Aimée. I don't remember what the base is called. It might just be called Merino Singles or something. And I'm trying to remember the colorway. It's not Sansa. It's something. Very helpful, I know. It's something. But I just love this color. And I held it double with, gosh, this is what happens when I don't prepare for my podcasts. I held it double with that brand that is no longer making yarn. Whatever. It's a mohair, but it is a very beautiful color combination. It just has the perfect, I don't know. I think a merino single plus a mohair is possibly my favorite combination for a hat because it's a single merino strand is so delicate and gorgeous looking, but it's delicate, right? It's not something you want to make a full garment in, but when you hold it with the mohair, it gives it a sturdiness, a warmth, but it still gives it a delicate look. And especially in this lace pattern, I just think it looks absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to let you see what it looks like. She also came out with a Couture beanie pattern. So this is, like I said, the beret, and she came out with a Couture beanie. I don't know what the difference is in terms of shaping and all that, but I like the way that this one kind of has more width at the top. It kind of bounces it out so you don't look like a pinhead. And if you wanted to block it out to look more like a beret, go for it. I just loved the way it looked. And so again, this is one I wear all the time. I like, I'm sorry, there's like scraggles in my eyes. I don't know if it's mohair or my own hair, but I like that the stitch pattern is so much more intricate, but the color is neutral. So it kind of is the reverse of this, where this is super simple but bright. This is a complicated stitch pattern, but a neutral. So I like that combination. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. It is one of my favorites. These two are the only ones I really wear. I have so many hats, but these are the two that turned out so, so well. So I'm going to take this off and put on the pink one because now my hair looks disastrous, and this one just is so cozy and I love it, and it's bright pink and it's fabulous. So anyway, if you're looking for hat patterns that have not disappointed me, these two, plus I think you can't go wrong with Sari Nordland. She's a brilliant designer. She has so many gorgeous hats with different looks, like cables, more simple. Just go check her out. I know you've checked her out, but go look at her hat pattern specifically. She just has a way. One of my goals in the new year is to knit more stuff from her. I just love her so much. She is 100% one of my favorite designers. Okay, moving on from hats, I have some new yarn to show you, which I am so excited. Remember last week we got into the whole discussion about synthetic yarns. We had never had that discussion on our channel here, and I was very, very excited to get so many comments and thoughts on that debate, and it was just very interesting. You said I think the comment that summed it up the best for me, and I wish I remember your name so I could give you credit. I'm so sorry, but I don't remember who it was, but you said, there's natural wools that are very unpleasant and don't turn out well. And then there's synthetic yarns that are beautiful to work with and turn out like into a gorgeous fabric. Yes, yes, yes. I could not agree more with that statement. Like I said, this yarn is not only a natural wool, but a very expensive one. And I don't love it. I didn't love working with it. It had a very woolly, rough hand. I don't love the fabric it made. It's not my favorite. It doesn't have the quality of non-superwash wool that makes it magical. This lacks that. And it's a very expensive yarn. I don't remember how much, but it was pricey. And then I recall my mother-in-law had made my son, which this is now like many, many years ago, because he's in his teens, some blankets out of acrylic yarn that was so lovely. She gave me the leftovers. I'll have to go in and find them. I wish I had brought it over here, but they are so just buttery and fluffy and gorgeous and washable. Such a great baby gift yarn, but just has that unique quality that made it so special and just didn't feel like that acrylic kind of plasticky vibe that some acrylic yarns have. So again, I love that idea that some natural fibers aren't great, some acrylics aren't great, and then others are great. So I do remember that the yarn that I loved that she used was a designer yarn. Like it wasn't something from Michael's. It was a higher end yarn company that had an acrylic yarn. So that I do also think like there are companies that are bigger that add, either have blends or fully synthetic yarns. But anyway, that is where I landed. But I am very happy to report that I got my yarn shipment Monday from a woolen company, the yarn that I really wanted to make this polka dot cardigan with. By the way, I'm just assuming you watched my episode last week. If you didn't, you can go back if you want to. All we talked about was this bulky weight cardigan I wanted to make, and I tried it in acrylic yarn, didn't love it, and now I pivoted to sandness yarn. I was deciding between two yarns, the Coast base and the Borstet alpaca or something like that. I ended up picking the Coast because I really envisioned this cardigan as a fluffy cloud, and this yarn had that look. This is the yarn in person. Do you see how gorgeous and fluffy this yarn is? It is a blend of alpaca, nylon, and acrylic possibly. It has that tube kind of construction. I don't know if you can see. It's very different from the other one that I was deciding between, but I went with this one and I really, really like it. Chelsea, I know you said you didn't love this and you were also worried that I was going to be disappointed, and I am not. I always want your honest opinions. If you've used a yarn, please tell me your thoughts. You don't have to protect my feelings. I definitely can handle differing opinions. She was saying that she worked with it and she found it a bit scratchy to work with. And I do understand what she's saying because it almost like looks like it'll be softer than it is. It's very soft, but there is something a little bit, I don't know. I really don't know. It's not scratchy per se, but it does have a little bit of a texture, I guess. I don't know what the nicer word for scratchy is, but it definitely is a different texture. I'm like literally 2 rows in and in the middle of my short rows, so you can't really see the fabric, but this is the effect I wanted. So I'm very, very happy. I wanted that like blown out, almost blurry look to the fabric, and that is what it is creating, and I really, really like it. trying to straighten out the 1 inch of fabric I have. The lighting isn't great today. It's a very overcast day. I've turned on all the overhead lights, but again, it's not great lighting today. But I know you can see that blurriness. I love that. It's kind of the same effect as mohair, right? Any fluffy yarn. But in that bulkier way, it gives that cloud-like look. And I just really, really was going for that. And I'm very happy with the color I picked. It leans into that cloud look. It just looks ethereal and fluffy, but it's still a color. It's not, cream or anything like that. I just absolutely love it. It makes me so happy. I cannot wait to have like an hour to work on this. I'm planning tomorrow. So today is my son's last exams. So last day of school, and tomorrow is my daughter's last day of school. Then my daughter has a volleyball scrimmage in the evening, but I'm hoping it's done by like 7. And then my husband is traveling for work, and I want to come back, let the kids go play video games, and sit by myself in the peace and quiet and work on this. That would be the ultimate dream for my life. And please say a prayer that it happens that way, because that is what I want for myself tomorrow. I'm just desperate for a little time to myself. I feel like I'm one of those people, I can really give and give and give and give to the point where my bucket is like completely empty, and then it backfires so thoroughly because I'm so grumpy and grouchy and short-tempered and unpleasant. And then I'm walking around apologizing to everybody because I've just burned myself out, and I'm at that point. And I really need some time for myself. I love my people, but there comes a point at which I have got to be alone. I have got to have nobody looking at me with needy eyes, which I feel like needy eyes follow me through my sleep. It's just, if it's not the dogs, it's the kids. If it's not the kids, it's the husband. It's someone always needs something. I'm venting now. But anyway, the point is, I'm really hoping to work on my polka dot cardigan later tomorrow evening. That is my hope and a prayer for myself. I don't know if I have any other knitting content. I, again, feel second week of feeling very unorganized and frazzled, so I appreciate you being patient with me. Like I said at the top, this is my last podcast for the year. We are heading out of town on Saturday. We are going on our ski trip. We always go into the mountains for the Christmas break. That is our time to spend, just the 4 of us. I always think of it as my snow globe weeks, because it's like being in a snow globe with my people. And it's just the happiest time of the year for me, because everybody is away from everything that usually occupies them. Like my husband is away from work as far as he can be, and the kids are away from school and sports, and we're just together for every meal, and we get to ski together, and it's like my happy place, and I'm so looking forward to it. So anyway, we will be gone from this Saturday until the new year, so this will definitely be my last episode. So I just wanted to give you some life updates. I have some exciting big ones for you today if you're interested. If you are not, I will see you in the new year. But if you are, please stick around. I, again, will apologize at the front because I have not thought out this story. So I hope it's, I want to tell you kind of the whole thing, but I hope it is cohesive. Sometimes I can end up going out on tangents if I don't think things out, but whatever, here we go. So if you have been with me for a while, you remember, I've lost all track of time, but I believe it was last fall maybe that I quit teaching fitness and yoga. It was something I started when my daughter was 3 or 4, and I loved teaching yoga and fitness. It was just a magical time in my life. I loved connecting with people. I loved creating energy for people for an hour. I loved making people work hard and find strength mentally and physically that they didn't think they had, because my classes were very hard. I just love a challenge physically, and it was just a fun job that I truly felt passionate about. However, there came a point that I was reaching the limits of my body, and I was also reaching the limits of what I wanted to do with my time with other people. And I just had this very instant realization that I needed to stop and quit and leave space open for the next thing, for the next passion in my life. And I know myself very well. 2 things. I know that I believe in my instincts. I believe in my intuition. And when I knew that feeling in my heart, it was instant, and I knew it 100%. Like, I woke up that morning not knowing even an inkling that I was feeling that way. And by the end of the day, I knew it. And like, I had already resigned from my job. So I very much trust my instinct. That is something that I've always had. And then I also knew I had to allow for that empty, uncomfortable space to figure out what truly the next thing was for me. And I think sometimes we don't like that uncertainty or that emptiness. For instance, I can imagine a younger person, a younger version of myself being in a relationship and knowing that relationship has to end, but being scared to end it because I'm afraid to be alone. And I know that there's probably a better thing out there for me, but I'd rather just stay, right? Like, it's that same feeling of the unknown emptiness being frightening, but somehow it didn't feel frightening. I maybe at this age, I have such a deep faith in the life force almost. Like, I know that if I know something in my heart, that I know it and it'll work out. And many months had gone by since I quit. And I knew there were many times where I was just like, there has got to be something for me. Like, I know there's something. And in August, I remember it so clearly. This is like one of those crystal clear moments where I will always remember that as like the defining moment of when it was like a thunderbolt kind of moment. I was at a party with a bunch of friends, and it was right before school started, and a lot of the women are teachers, and they were all talking about going back to school. And one friend in particular was just talking about how excited she was to get back to teaching because she was off for the summer. And she was just like, yeah, I love what I do. I'm so excited to go back, even though, vacation is over and the summer is over. And I just remember feeling like this deep, I don't know if it's jealousy or envy. I know those are not the same thing, but I just felt so envious of her having this, like having a job that she felt so passionate about that she couldn't wait to get back to. And at that same party, I was talking to another friend, and I was saying that I felt that way. And she said, well, it's not too late for you to go do whatever you want. Like, why can't you? And that seed in my heart, I could not deny that like something fundamental had shifted in my mind. And I sat down and just thought about like, if time, age, anything, nothing was an issue, what would I want to do? And it was instantly like, I knew if I could go back, and I went to law school, I became a lawyer. I was young. I did not know myself. I feel like some people, when they're 22, know themselves really well. I did not. I was so, like, I'm unrecognizable to myself sometimes when I look back. I had, like, why law school? Who knows what I was thinking? But it was such a mismatch. And I always felt like I wanted to be a social worker. And in that moment, I just was like she said, why can't I? Why can't I go back? And I started researching, and I always thought there were going to be, impediments. Like, I didn't have the undergraduate prerequisites, and I didn't want to go back to undergrad and like take prereqs in order to go get a master's and all that. And it turned out I didn't have to. Like, you don't have to have a bunch of prerequisites to go get your master's in social work. And I found a program that was hybrid that would let me do a lot of the classwork online, which enables me to still be 100% present for my kids. Long story long, I am going back to school in January, and I am so incredibly excited. I feel like it's like the literal second chapter of my life. I'll be 45 next year, which, if you're lucky, is squarely in middle age. And I have had such a blessed existence. I have gotten to do exactly what I wanted to do, which was be at home with my kids. Like, I just always knew, always that I really, really wanted to do that. And I think the reason I just had a deep knowing that there had to be a second chapter is because in 3.5 years, my son will go to college, and shortly thereafter, my daughter will go to college. And it has been the best thing that ever happened to me to spend all this time with them. It is what I would do it again 1,000 lifetimes. I would do it the same. But all the energy and love and all of that I give to them, it has to go somewhere when they move on to their next phase. And I know they'll still need me. Like, I know that 100%. I can hear you saying they'll still need you. But I know I have to give that passion to people that need it. And I just know that this is exactly what I want to do with the second half of my life. And I'm so excited because I will graduate at the same time he'll graduate from high school. So when he leaves, maybe I won't die. Maybe my heart will not stop beating because he's gone. And maybe, like, having a new passion to pour my heart into will keep me, alive and afloat and able to weather that transition. So yeah, I'm really excited. I am a little apprehensive because it is so incredibly time and energy consuming to be the kind of hub of my family, because my husband travels a ton, and for long periods of time, the kids both are just, I feel like they need me a lot to, to continue to grow in the way that they are. And I just hope I have enough bandwidth for this endeavor. It is part-time, so I feel like there will be shifts in priorities and balances, but I'm hopeful that I find, what works for me. But I'm really, really excited. I hope I will always still keep doing my podcast. There might be like weeks where I don't get to do it every week, and it might be, every other week sometimes. I might have less to show you, but knitting is literally my lifeline. So I will always keep knitting and making and sharing with you guys, because this space with y'all is just such a big part of my heart. So don't worry if you like this podcast. I will absolutely 100% continue to do it. I'm just excited to have the next thing, the next area of growth, the next unknown to explore. As I've gotten older, I've realized how much I enjoy not knowing what every day is going to look like. I like adventure, my version of adventure, more than I thought I did. I like uncertainty more than I thought I did. I like, forcing myself into these growth situations more than I thought I did as a younger person. You just find out so much more about yourself when you're outside of your comfort zone. I think it can be very uncomfortable to not, to leave that comfortable zone where you know that you are doing things well and you know how your days go. I appreciate that, and I also like kind of living towards the edge of that bubble. So anyway, I wanted to share that exciting news with you. I am really excited. I love school, and I'm really excited to study again. And as nerdy as that sounds, and I'm really excited to dive into subject matters that, really light me up. So that is my big life news, my big life update. I think that wraps it up for today. I've taken enough of your time. Thank you for listening. If you stayed until this point at the end, thank you for your support always. I adore you guys. I love reading your notes. I love communicating with you and hearing your thoughts on life and knitting. And by the way, your comments on dramatic children and not taking them seriously just gave me life, y'all. This is one thing I love about this community so much is I confessed like something that felt very heavy and shameful, and you guys cracked me up with all your stories of your exact same stories of like times you didn't take your kids seriously and you ended up being wrong. They made me laugh. They made me feel less alone. They made me feel happily human. And like Sylvia, you said, when you apologize genuinely to your kids for making a mistake, you not only can heal that moment where you hurt them, but you also teach them to give themselves grace because you just modeled giving yourself grace. And, now I can laugh about it and learn from it and move on and know that I am in very good company. So if you shared your mom fail story, thank you. They were hilarious, even though at the time they probably weren't funny. They were really funny to me and gave me a really good giggle. So anyway, Happy New Year's, you guys. Have a wonderful holiday. I hope it is exactly what you want it to be, and that if you do have obligatory stuff that you have to do, that you carve out time to give yourself whatever you need, whether that's time with friends, whether that's time alone, whether that's, watching tons of movies on Netflix and getting into the holiday spirit. I hope you get what you need. Make time for it. You absolutely deserve it. I will see you in the new year. Be well, my friends. Bye.